Across the German capital, the skyline is a little darker this summer. A citywide campaign to conserve energy has seen the nightlight switched off at more than 200 churches, bridges and monuments. The aim is to prevent gas from being used now for power generation, so it can instead be sent to storage for the winter. But savings alone won't be enough. Germany has also fired up 10 coal power plants which had already been retired. Burning lignite coal seen as a difficult but necessary measure to shore up electricity supplies. But just like gas, challenges around where to get that coal persist and will worsen once the Russian coal import ban comes into force. Before the war in Ukraine, Germany got almost half of its coal from Russia, more than any other EU country. The search for alternative sources from further abroad is expected to put even more pressure on household bills.
The less well-off people in Germany are less likely to accept that they should face additional financial burden for a rather, ethical foreign policy that they actually don't fully support and that they question in at least in part. So it will be very difficult, I think, for the government to find wholehearted support amongst the German population for this.
Germany will increase coal imports from the US, Australia and South Africa to power the freshly reopened plants. A move the government has described as bitter but necessary, given the spike in emissions the dirty fuel source is expected to cause. Chancellor Scholz saying the situation has underscored the need to invest more in clean sources of power for the future.
We see how dependent we are from energy imports all over the world, and in this case, especially from Russia. It's important to know that we in Germany have technical abilities that are realistic and produce economically functioning jobs and economic value, which can help free us from this dependency and defend our own sovereignty.
The government maintains that households will have enough heating over the winter and that if energy does need to be rationed, it will be heavy industry that's asked to power down. But shoring up supplies does come at a cost. Bills are expected to rise across the board, and even with increased coal output, a new energy levy being proposed by the Scholz government is expected to cost the average four-person family around $1,200 extra a year.
Are people being prepared to turn off the heating? This seems to be a simple question, which for a single person could be just a choice of, am I willing to put on a jumper and sit in a much colder flat than usually. But if you have family and little children, babies even in the home, there is no choice. You have to turn the heating on.
Managing the coming winter involves complex calculations and energy use forecasts, making sure that there's enough power for the population, and more crucially, if there is a shortfall, who gets priority. The government maintains households will be prioritised over industry, but the hope is that that scenario can be avoided entirely. Trent Murray, CGTN, Berlin.